Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you're all able to see my screen. Right. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining on a Friday evening. Right. Not the most convenient time, but looking at the response to this webinar, right? I believe this is a topic of great interest to you all. Right. For some of you, it might be a little controversial topic, but we'll see how we analyze it and dissect it across various dimensions and find out the complementary or contrasting things between PMP and Scrum Master or CSM versus Scrum Master or CSM versus PMP. And find the similarities and differences also, right, across dimensions like role, title, what kind of knowledge or skills required for them to be successful, where is it applicable, certain details about these certifications, and what are the roots or philosophy behind the framework or the processes and the success factors, etc. So hope this sounds good for what we want to achieve in next 20-25 minutes, right? So we'll start with a very brief introduction about me. Antara has maybe summarized it. So I have around 2 decades of experience in IT industry. I've worked in various international locations and worked with the companies across the world, in US, in Europe, Asia Pacific. I've been practicing Agile for the past 5+ years. And I have been a passionate learner in the field of Agile, Lean, systems thinking, and a philosophy, a branch of philosophy called epistemology. So that's a pretty brief introduction about me, right? So let's understand the agenda of the session today, right? So what we'll start with is we'll start with the context. We'll set the context for this webinar, and then we'll look at the roots or the philosophy behind the process and framework for the PMP and CSM, and then we will look at whether they are conflicting or complementing or both at the same time. We'll quickly look at the facts and details about certification, and then we'll look at the emerging practices, and then we'll have a closing session which will include the Q&A. So let's start with the context, right? So what we are talking about is PMP and CSM. Now what are these? These are certifications, right? So PMP is project management professional certifications offered by the PMI. So it's a PMI.org which offers the project management certification, and Scrum Alliance offers certified Scrum Master certification. So these are 2 certifications, right? And what are these organizations, right? So if you look at both PMI and Scrum Alliance are non-profit organizations. So these are the non-profit organizations in the field of project management and Scrum practices, offering certification for project management professional and certified Scrum Master. Now, till this time it sounds that okay, they are maybe having a similar approach. But if you look at the organization objective, you will realize that there is a vast difference between what their approach or what their mission or vision is. So if you look at the purpose of PMI, the PMI purpose is advocacy of project management through globally recognized standards. So it is more of a standard creating body, and it creates that standards in the project management profession through research, through various practitioners providing a lot of details about what is working in the practice across the industries. So these details are collected, and there are scrutinizing bodies. It goes through multiple rounds of reviews, and then it becomes a body of knowledge for PMI to propagate, right? So PMI has a mission where it wants to improve the organization's success through further propagate the knowledge about project management. And where does it get the knowledge? It is not a knowledge of a person, but it is a knowledge of collecting the information from organizations who are practicing project management and seeing what is working, what is not working, and standardizing that. So it's a standard creation body, right? Contrast to that, if you look at the purpose of Scrum Alliance, you will see that it is a very simple vision, and profound visions are generally simple. So vision of Scrum Alliance is transform the world of work, right? So like very profound and powerful visions of organizations like Google or Microsoft or Facebook, the Scrum Alliance vision also is to transform the world of work, which is a profound and yet simple vision. And how they plan to do that is they plan to achieve that by widespread adoption and effective practice of Scrum. And they do that by advocacy, communication, education, etc. and all. Right. So this is where you can see the roots, or basically you can see where these two certifications, the PMP and CSM, come from, and what are the missions or the vision of the organizations behind it. Right. Now we'll move on to the next slide, which will talk about the roots or the philosophy behind these frameworks. Right. So we have the PMP coming out of the PMI PMBOK, and the Scrum certification coming out from the Scrum frameworks. These are the knowledge source behind these certifications. So if you look at the PMBOK, or rather the PMP certification, it is based on the project management process described by PMBOK, right? Which is nothing but a project management body of knowledge. Now it has evolved, as we talked also, as a project management standards through consensus, right? So you collect the practices followed in the industries and make a standard through consensus through review process, right? And it is a generic knowledge, right? And it is applied to wide variety of projects across industries. So the PMBOK knowledge, the project management knowledge, is applicable to not only the IT industry, but it is applicable to various other industries. In fact, it has originated in other industries before it became applicable in IT industry. So industries like construction, oil and gas, and variety of other industries use PMBOK for running their projects successfully also. Now here you will see certain specific nature of the process where you'll start seeing the differences, and you'll see more when we talk about the Scrum framework. So PMBOK propagated project management approach is relatively high on plan-driven approach. It is more defined and prescriptive. What that means is that you would have a scope of managing change in that, but it is more on a plan-driven approach where you create a plan and then you manage the project through plan. So your focus is always on managing and controlling the variance to the plan, right? So you create a plan and then you manage the project as per the plan, controlling the variance to that plan, right? So that's the approach which PMBOK propagates. And how do you scale the project management practices propagated by PMBOK in an enterprise-wide, right? So you scale through projects, you scale to the next level at a program and to the next level at a portfolio, right? So there is an alignment at the project, program, and portfolio management for an enterprise scaling propagated or recommended by PMBOK. Now let's look at how the where the roots of CSM or Certified Scrum Master comes from, which is based on Scrum framework, right? So Scrum framework is based on agile values and principles. One of the practices of agile. Agile is more of a mindset or an approach and an attitude towards software development described described by the agile values and principles as mentioned in an agile manifesto. And Scrum is one of the practices which adheres to these values and principles, right? Now, this is an agile process framework we talked about, and it is an iterative incremental development approach, right? So it is not a plan-driven approach. It is an iterative and incremental development approach, and it is highly focused it is a team process, right? So it's a team process for building high variability complex product, right? So unlike the PMBOK approach, which is more plan-driven approach, and the focus is on controlling the variance, so it is more applicable for projects where the variance is less. That is where you'll have more success following PMBOK. Contrasting to that, Scrum framework is, by the nature of it, it is for the projects where you have a high variability and the nature of the project is complex, right? And it is value-driven, contrasting again to PMBOK approach, which is more on a plan-driven. So Scrum framework is value-driven, and it is an adaptive and empirical process where the focus is more on planning versus plan. And what I mean by that is that, okay, you are continuously planning on a regular basis to have something as a real plan, right? You would not create a plan at the beginning and then follow that throughout the project or throughout the release. You continuously and regularly plan to reflect the reality, and you would welcome the change for the benefit of the release or for the benefit of the customer, right? So that's where it is value-driven rather than a plan-driven approach. Now, Scrum itself had originated in the software industry, and now it is being adopted in others, right? So it originated in software industry and very popular right now. So most of the organizations who follow Agile follow Scrum as their product development practices, right? So that's about the roots of Agile, rather roots of CSM and PMP, right? Now what we'll move on to and to see. Okay, before that, I think one point what got missed out is that, okay, how does Scrum scale? Right? So Scrum scales in an enterprise-wide organization through Scrum of Scrum or a scaled Agile framework, etc. So there are a couple of models which are used for scaling Scrum, right? So so these are the approach, or these are the process or the roots behind these two certifications of PMP and Certified Scrum Master. So it is important to understand what is behind these certifications, right? So certification in itself is a test of knowledge, right? So what is behind that is important to understand. Now what we will do is that, okay, we will look at what are the conflicting or complementary things in the context of these two certifications, right? So if you look at the Scrum Master role, right? So CSM certification is for a Scrum Master, right? So Scrum Master, if you trying to understand the role, right? So Scrum Master as a role is a change agent role, and it can be very wide and big in an organization, right? Many times we fail to understand the Scrum Master role, and we think that it is more of a facilitation role. But Scrum Master role is very wide and big role. It is a change agent role, and Scrum Master has a responsibility of building on a high performance winning team, and then trusting the team to build the great products, right? So that is the key role Scrum Master plays, and for that role to play, Scrum Master need to have wide array of knowledge. I mean, we talk about Scrum Master might have to have knowledge about the psychology also, because he's or she's always working with the teams, creating a high performance team, winning team, which will build a high great products, right? And Scrum Master has a responsibility of keeping the focus, team focused towards the goal, which can be a vision of product vision, a release goal or sprint goal, and that again requires a Scrum Master to have a wide array of knowledge about team dynamics, about many other things also. What about what goes on to the projects, right? And Scrum Master at various different point of time plays a role of a facilitator, a coach, a mentor, and change agent, right? So these are the skills which Scrum Master need to have. Now some of these words sound simple, right? I mean, but they require great amount of skills which a Scrum Master needs to have for him or her to become successful, right? So so Scrum Master as a role is a wide and pretty big in a Scrum framework. Now let's see what the project manager role is. Now project manager, as suggested in the PMBOK also, that role or authority can varies depending on the organization context and structure, right? So Scrum Master role within a Scrum framework is very clear, right? And what you can see is that, okay, these are the things which Scrum Master would do. Now the project manager role, contrasting to that, can have a variation depending on the organization structure and the context, right? So in a projectized organization, project manager will have an absolute authority, right? He will be the person, go-to person, and then accountable for the project success. While in a metrics organization or a weak metrics organization or a functional organization, the project manager authority and role can differ significantly or can be a much lower, right? Now, project manager role, as we saw about what PMBOK recommend, a PMBOK approach, basically a process is, which is more defined approach. It is applicable to moderate or low variability projects, right? So project managers following a PMBOK approach can be successful in projects where the variability of and variability in a project can be for various different reasons. I mean, it can be scope variability, it can be technology complexity variability, it can be resources variability. I mean, various different kind of variabilities are possible in projects. But where the variability is low, the success of following PMBOK approach for projects will be higher. And as we saw, it is applicable in wide range of industries, right? But many industries will have a more defined or low variability compared to IT industry, and the success rate of project manager role following PMBOK approach is much higher. And we are seeing that the IT industries where the variability is significantly higher, the success is lesser. And another contrast you can see is that, okay, many times the project managers will have a direct responsibility of the success of the projects, right? So in that sense, project manager will do the assignment of the work also to the team. Project manager will be doing the scoping, doing the scheduling, doing many other things also. While in a Scrum framework or Scrum approach, the Scrum Master role is what has been described is to build a high-performance winning team and keep the team focused towards goal and propagate the Scrum knowledge and in the team, work with the product owner, work with the organization for them to learn the Scrum, and not so much having a direct responsibility of delivery of projects, right? So he plays a role of facilitator, coach, mentor, change agent, but would not have a direct responsibility of the success of the projects. So these are the areas where you can see how these roles contrast or have a similarity, right? Now, if you add a point that, okay, having a knowledge in certain area is never harmful, right? As long as you know or you have the right wisdom to apply that knowledge, right? So for having a Scrum Master to have knowledge about project management is not a bad thing, right? So Scrum Master is a very wide role. I mean, he would be or she would be working with a team on various different fronts, and having a knowledge of project management practices is not a bad thing, where you would have to coach the team and many other folks also in the entire process, right? So the PMP or the PMBOK is a strong foundation of the project management, right? So in my view, Scrum Master or a person managing an agile project, having the certification on the CSM certification, having something knowledge on the PMBOK would be an additional advantage, right? But a project manager who is managing a low variability projects based on the PMBOK approach, having a CSM certification would not add any value if you're not managing agile project. And also, there is no role as such. There is no project manager role in an agile or in a Scrum projects, right? So so there is no project manager role. I mean, that's what I wanted to mention. Now, having any of these certification itself does not guarantee the success, right? So this is another point which I wanted to mention, that, okay, certifications are at best the test of the knowledge, right? They are not guaranteed of success in practice, right? So PMBOK might talk about multiple skills which are required for a project manager, but it does provide only the knowledge, right? It does not provide the skills. It does not test the skills, right? So having gone through PMBOK or a Scrum framework and passing these certifications tests or gaining these certifications would not give the knowledge or would not be a guarantee of success, right? It is only when you develop those skills and practice those in the field will be resulting into success, right? So that's about what can be the conflicting or contrasting things, and where these certifications can be applicable, and what are the gains you can have applying it across these roles. Now, very quickly, we look at the certification facts and details. So if you look at PMI offers the PMP certification. Apart from that, it does offer the program management certification also, and PMI also is catching up on the agile practices also, right? So PMI earlier had a focus on only project management, but now they have come out with PMI Agile Certified Practitioner also certification, right? So they are catching up more, and then and they are adding some of the agile practices as a part of their standards also. While Scrum Alliances offers CSM certification and CSPO, which is a Certified Scrum Product Owner certification, Certified Scrum Developer, and Certified Scrum Trainers. So these are the various certifications offered by Scrum Alliance. There are a few more also, but I'm just providing a sample list there. And Solutions IQ does provide training and certification in these areas, right? So CSM and CSP or CSD, right? Now, if you just look at the contrast, that the PMBOK has, the latest version has 618 pages. If you have to go through the PMP certification, you have to go read through 618 pages, right? Relatively, and if you remove 600 pages from PMBOK and you come out to 18 pages, that is where the Scrum Guide is, right? So Scrum Guide is around 17 pages, even lesser than that, right? So so Scrum is a pretty simple and easy to understand framework, but very difficult to master it, right? So many times you will see that, okay, a simple, profound things will be easy to understand but difficult to master, and Scrum falls in that area where it is more value-based, it is more principles-based, and simple practices, but disruptive process. It requires organization value systems to change, organization culture to change, some of the structures to be changed for it to become successful and beneficiary to the organization. Right. Now, some more details around certification. So on the PMP certification, it requires you have to have 4 days classroom training, maybe around costing $15K, and then you have to have exams cost around $555 or $405 for PMI member. And relatively, it is more rigorous exams, and it's more tough. Now, Scrum certification, it requires 2 days training, and exam certification will be around 20 to 25K, and it includes the training cost also, right? So that's some contrast around the certification, and it is relatively easier to gain that certification, but becoming a good Scrum Master or becoming a successful Scrum Master is much more difficult job, right? I mean, it is easy to get certification, but becoming a successful Scrum Master is much more difficult, and it's a journey. It's a personal journey. The person going into that area has to take, right? So that's about the details which I wanted to present, and very quickly we can go to the next area, is some of the other practices, right? So apart from these defined process framework like waterfall, or which is based on PMBOK, or other waterfall and PMBOK based approach, or adaptive process framework like Scrum XP, which are based on Agile, there are new practices, new emerging practices, which are widely used in manufacturing, but now getting popular and adopted in software industry, is Lean. And if you look at the details of Lean, Lean is it's focused on optimization at the organization level, right? It is not a team process, but you look at organization and look at where is the waste in the system, and you look at the optimization at an organization level. And it is a value-driven process, right? So it is not a plan-driven or a process. It is a value-driven process, and it is a flow-based, right? So contrasting to iterative process like Scrum, which is a time box process where you do a time box sprint and iterate over a period of time to build a complex product. lean is a flow-based process where there is no time box. And the roots of lean is it's a Toyota way, which comes from a Toyota manufacturing system, which itself is based on Edward Deming's total quality management principles. And lean for software development is based on certain principles, and principles like eliminate waste, right? So it is to reduce the waste in the system, reduce the waste in the flow, amplify learning, right? So it's a team approach where you together are learning to become better, and decide as late as possible, so decisions are made at the last responsible moment, and you have the best information available at that time, and deliver as fast as possible, empower the teams, trust the team to make the right decision, trust the team to deliver. It's again based on self-organizing high-performance teams, and the build integrity in the context of software development. It is related to the quality. That means that, okay, your focus is more on building quality in, and quality assurance or prevention of defects, rather than quality control, which is testing and fixing the issues at a later stage, right? And see the whole, which is like a holistic approach, again optimization at the organization level rather than at a team level or group level, right? So that's about the new approach where organizations are adopting lean in the software industry also. And Solutions IQ, I think as Antara mentioned also, Solutions IQ is one of the organization which is organizing first time in India Lean India Summit, and you can look at the details of these at a leanindiasummit.com, where we'll have talks, workshops, coach camps, etc. And it is on 15th and 16th of November, next week, Friday and Saturday. And this is the first time in India we are organizing this Lean India Summit, and we expect this to be a great gathering where we are expecting around 100 plus or more than that participants who will be joining, and we are having speakers from all over the world coming in and presenting their experiences in this practice, right? So that's all which I had to talk about in this context, and I think